If you're here for improv, no way. This is Other Than Improv with Anthony Francis.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Other Than Improv. I'm your host, Anthony Francis. The music you just heard is our opening intro music written by Tony Tata and Ben Brown, two very wonderfully talented local musicians. Tony Tata is our music director for Improv U, and I couldn't be happier. And Ben is just an amazing trumpet player, singer, a lot of fun. So our guest today, he is an improviser from New York. He is the Justin part of From Justin to Kelly. They run the Countdown Improv Theater, and they also run the Countdown Improv Festival, I believe one of the greatest, if not the greatest improv festival in the whole world, and it's located in Tampa, Florida, when it's not 100% online due to COVID. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Peters.
Hey, Anthony. How you doing?
Hey, man. So welcome. Thanks so much for doing this.
Third best improv festival in the world. That's what it says on our website.
Right now, okay, so you said that, but why? Why is it the third best? I have to know.
Well, I gotta say, trying to pump up the Palm Beach Improv Festival. So Palm Beach Improv Festival, whatever everyone liked about Countdown this year, Palm Beach is going to be better. And then my favorite improv festival, and it's true. You're going to take everything that we learned in August, and I have no idea when this is going to run. Maybe this is going to run in October, and we're talking about something that's happening in the future that actually happened in the past.
You know what? So right now I am trying to build up a little bit of the coffers to get the show, kind of built up before I start publishing them. Also, as I talked about with you, this has been a very interesting journey for me. So in terms of, production and finding a podcast that works, that I enjoy doing. And I can't think of anything more fun than interviewing improvisers. And so, yes. So right now I would say it'll probably be out before the festival. I'd like to think it will be.
Nice. Well, we're super jazzed for PBIF. It's going to be great this year.
Well, thank you so much. It's very humbling because, like I said, I think you guys, you and Kelly do such an amazing job. Just the two of you, you're like an army, the way that you work. So the whole point of this podcast is to interview improvisers about the things that they do, their skills, their talents, their secrets, I guess, other than improv, right? What do you do that's not improv? Because every time, and we talked about this a little bit, every time I go to a festival or I do improv, I meet improvisers, and they have the most interesting backgrounds, the most interesting lives. They lead interesting lives. And I wanted to kind of uncover that with this. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what makes me excited to do this and interview you, because you're one of those people who inspired this whole thing. Because I was like, people like Justin. No, it's true. People like Justin who write for Slate, who have a book, who do some other really interesting things we're going to talk about here in a second. So that's really part of it, like where I go, okay, what are these things that these people do? And also for me, like I have a secret life. I have a thing. But we've all done a bunch of different things, right? So that's the point of this podcast. And if you're just listening now, welcome to Other Than Improv. That is what it's about if it's your first time listening to the podcast. And Justin, let's get into it. Tell me, what is that thing that you do other than improv?
Where to begin? So, improv takes up a lot of my life, but when I'm not doing shows or running festivals or, other stuff, I'm a writer and a journalist, and I've been doing that, ever since college. Yeah.
You wrote a really interesting article that I loved, especially it was really timely too for me because I was interested in it, and your article really helped, but it was all about the THC, all the different THCs or the CBDs. There we go.
Yeah.
The CBD, the lighter side of THC, the CBD. You did an article where you got to just ingest a whole bunch of CBD and write about it.
Yeah, I spent a month becoming CBD man. Basically, I acquired as many CBD products as I could find, everything from CBD shampoo to CBD mac and cheese to CBD essential oils with the CBD massage candle. And I spent a month trying to ingest and coat my body in nothing but CBD substances. I felt very sick. at the end of this. I do not recommend. Not a good idea. But it's interesting that you first said THC, because that is very much what the CBD industry, I think, is banking on people thinking that CBD is basically just like THC, which is not at all the case. CBD is not psychoactive at all. And mostly the amount of CBD you get in the commercial products you find in the store is basically low enough that any effect it'll have on your body is basically indistinguishable from a placebo effect. That was my conclusion, at least. So, I mean, to bring it back to what I do is not like debunk CBD, but
Right.
like for Slate, I've been writing for them since 2005 in
Wow.
various capacities. Yeah, I've covered sports, politics, I've covered crime, I've covered media. And a few times a year, I serve as their human guinea pig, which is they, tell me, go eat CBD for a month and write about it. And I do that. Once I actually had to wear adult diapers for a week and sort of write about that. So, all sorts of weird stuff that I've done in the name of sort of journalism.
Well, what I liked about your writing is what I like about all really great journalists is you reported, you reported it, and I liked that, and it was very mature, professional, I should say, in the way that you presented the information. And my favorite was the CBD cocktail toppers. That was probably the grossest. Like you just pour it on top of a cocktail. What are you doing?
Cocktail floaters. It's like in a little eyedropper, and you drip it on top. Now, I suck at making cocktails to begin with, but if you combine my terrible cocktail with this gross hempy eyedropper stuff, it just goes from like bad to terrible.
Right. So you write for Slate, and when I first met you, the first thing that went, oh, wow, I had no idea, is that you wrote a book. And I don't know if you've written other books, but I do know you wrote this one book. And I'm pretty sure you made multiple copies of it. I don't have the only one. But
no, there's two. There's two.
Okay. You wrote this book, and it's beautiful. Like the packaging is great. It's got like a nice paper cover with really nice coloring, and it's just a really nice quality print job on this, but it's called The Idealist, Aaron Swartz and the Rise of Free Culture on the Internet by Justin Peters. And it's all about, correct me if I'm wrong, well, what is the book about? It's about,
right, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to...
Subtitle basically says it.
Right.
So when we met, it was 2015 at the Tampa Improv Festival. And at that point, I was about 2 months away from my book coming out. My book was published in January 2016. It's about this computer programmer named Aaron Swartz who killed himself at age 26 when he was, after being indicted by the federal government on 13 felony charges for excessive downloading. He was an interesting guy.
He's the inventor of Reddit, right? Or a founder?
Yeah, he's one of the co-founders of Reddit. He was involved in the RSS, one of the RSS standards. He, is very big in sort of internet activism, and he was a sort of prodigy from a very young age. And, when he died in 2013, my editor at Slate said, "Hey, this could be an interesting story for you. You want to write about this guy's life and death?" And I said, "Sure." And, a day later, I was on a plane to Illinois to attend his funeral. And I spent a month learning everything I could about his life and published his 14,000 word article on Slate about a month after he died. And I beat all the other magazines that were competing with me. The thing, like when you're on a hot story, that like New Yorker's after it too, and New York Magazine is after it too. And we knew that. So but I got it out first, which was good because the day, I broke it. Yeah. And like literally the day after the story published, an editor emailed me and said, "Hey, this is an interesting story. You want to turn this into a book?" And one thing led to another. And I signed with, a good agent at a really good publishing company, Scribner. They published Stephen King, and they published F. Scott Fitzgerald and stuff like that. And like the book came out 2.5 years later, sank like a stone.
Right.
Did not make a huge dent in the marketplace. Turns out there's not that much interest in this guy's life, it turned out. But it's a real book. I went on a book tour and everything. It was in airport bookstores, and it's in fucking libraries, and I've spoken about it all over the world. I still get sort of emails. I just got an email about it yesterday from someone.
Wow.
So yeah, sort of a cool thing.
Yeah, I think, and I think as an improviser, that just because something isn't mainstream doesn't mean it's not incredibly important.
Well, it's funny. Like when I signed the book contract, I'm like, this is going to change my life. I know that this is going to change my life. And it did, just not in the way that I expected, right? I fully expected the book to be a bestseller. I put my heart and my soul into writing it. It almost killed me. It's very, very hard to write a book, it turns out. And then,
God.
it came out, and like, for whatever reason, it didn't get, great pickup in like the press, and I got really good reviews like from most places, but it came and it went, and you don't really expect that the most public thing that you have done in your life after that point, it's just going to come and go. And then when it goes, like, well, it'll come out in paperback, and there'll be a little more of a burst of publicity there, but then you're basically back to being who you were. And like, that was interesting. Like, you're still the same person when you do something that is like international. You don't transform immediately. It just like, it comes and it goes, and then you're back to you. And if you expect like the lines on your resume to define who you are as like a person, like, then you're just going to be disappointed and sad, I think. And I was sad for a while that like the book didn't make the impact that I thought it would. But then I realized, this changed my life. I wrote a book. No one can take that away from me. People really like it. The people who like it really like it. It's a good book. It advances scholarship in so many like areas. And I got to have sort of experiences and stuff, and that's cool. And I'm writing another one now too. So, there's always room for more.
That's right. You were telling me you're going to write a good a beach read.
Yeah, exactly. It's a page turner this time. Yeah.
Well, I think that's wonderful. And as someone who I also have written or started to write a book, I couldn't figure out how to end it. Of course, it's just an instruction guide for short form improv. But I figured now I can just write improv short form games now at the end here. I guess I could do that forever. So I'm going to stop at like 10. And then if you have other games you want to play, you can just find them on your own. But yeah. I understand the process of writing a book. And I didn't write a book that was nearly as detailed and nearly as important as what you've written here. Plus, you broke the story on it, which is so interesting. Did you run into any other reporters when you were maybe like at the airport or at the funeral? Did you?
No, it wasn't like in the movies where you're sort of glaring at each other from across like the halls of the church. But
right,
talking to people, sources you did hear like, oh, I talked to the guy from the New Yorker last week, and I'm like, fuck, like I got to move faster.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
but the whole experience has it, and I guess as you mentioned, but it has changed you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it definitely changed me. Like, I mean, most simply, like, that's the, I wrote a book. It was published. It's in libraries and bookstores. Like I now know what it's like to put every brain cell I have to work on one particular project and try to make my peace with that project, even if it's not like as good as you think it'll be in your mind. And you see this with improv, like your vision of the show, you're capable of doing, so rarely corresponds to the show you actually end up doing. And it was sort of like that with the book. Like, you see yourself writing a book, you're like, it's going to be an A+ book for sure. At least that's what I think, like
Right.
I know I'm a good writer. I know I'm smart. I know I can execute this. My book that I envision in my head is going to be an A+ book. And then at the end, when you turn it into your publisher, you're like, fuck, man, this is B+, A- at best. Like, like, what do you do with that? Like, you just gotta, you make your peace with it.
There's definitely now, especially with in the age of COVID, where I'm having to pivot and expand and do things that are different. I feel the same way, where I'm no longer at everything I'm attempting now isn't as proficient as being an improv performer, an improv teacher, coaching coaching companies with improv. I'm not doing that now. I'm doing other things, and those things are not at the level I want them to be at. So I have to push through that downtime. So Justin, you do another very interesting thing that I did not expect, that I just have so many questions on. You are a beer vendor at Wrigley Stadium in Chicago, and you did that for 20 years.
Still do it, Wrigley Field. Yeah,
You
I mean,
still do it.
not this year because there's no in-person baseball, but I grew up in the Chicago area, and summers home from college, I was looking for a fun summer job, and they were hiring stadium, concession vendors at Wrigley Field. And I've always been a Chicago Cubs fan, so I signed up for the job, and I did it through college, and then I did it after college, and then I just never quit the summer job that I had as a kid. And now, literally, this would have been my 21st year in the stadium doing it. It's a unionized job, which is how I can, continue to get hired while living in New York. They don't require you to be there all that much, but if I put in 15 games a year, I can, and don't sell beer to 7-year-olds. Like,
Right.
I can work there in perpetuity, and it's cool because my parents still live in the area, so I always combine trips home to see them with, work trips, and I can, offset the cost of the plane ticket. But it's been cool, man. I've, been to World Series and like baseball game. I've sold beers to celebrities. I sold a beer to Bill Murray.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I sold a beer to Thomas Ian Nicholas from American Pie. I actually had no fucking idea who he was. I carded him, and he gave me a look. He's like, "Really? Surely you know me?" And I'm like, "All right, guy." I had a moment with Billy Corgan once, which was weird. I was walking up a section, and I noticed Billy Corgan, sitting there. He's a big guy. I've actually had multiple, like, just random interactions with Billy Corgan in my life, which, it's sort of strange how it keeps on popping up. But he's a huge guy, like 6'4", 240, and like our eyes meet, and I'm like, I appreciate you. And then we fist bump, and then I give him a little finger gun, and I'm like, hey, never stop. And then he gives me a little nod, and then I walk away. So it was weird.
But you're the beer vendor, so you have access, that you have a reason. Like I don't know. I think that's like kind of a great little like thing to have. Like, yeah, you couldn't have done that. You couldn't have. I mean, it would have been weird if you had seen him and you walked up to him while he was watching the game. He'd be like, "Hey, I'm watching the game." But you're the beer vendor. You're baseball royalty.
Oh, totally. Everyone loves a beer vendor, right? Everyone loves me, walking around, yelling, joking with people, pouring beer. I'm the most popular guy in the stadium, me and like my 150 colleagues.
Yeah, I would have to say, in order of importance or in order of respect, it goes beer vendor and the camera guy who puts you on the monitor.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, funny story about that. Like,
do you know that guy?
I do. I'm actually like, he was at my wedding. That's absolutely true. But yeah, the guy who runs the video board at Wrigley Field, we played fantasy football together since high school, and like he was actually at my wedding.
That's amazing. You were going to say something else. I don't want you to lose that. What was that?
No, that was basically it. Like, yeah, I actually do know that guy.
Oh, that's great. What else?
I mean,
can you do?
I do that with everybody though, and that's the fun part about the job. Sometimes people are like, "Really, you're still selling beer? Like, I thought you were smart. And I'm like, well,
What?
you condescending prick.
You're a
Like,
genius. What are you
yeah,
talking
like
about? You get
it's it's fun as hell. Like, you get to like have these like 45-second long little fucking scenes with people all day long, like
Yeah.
just little like one-on-one like interactions and like make people laugh and fucking milk them so that they tip you a little bit better.
Yeah.
I love it. I'll do it until my knees give out.
That's great. I mean, and you've been doing it since you were how old?
Since I was like 18, 19 years old.
So
since 2000. Since 2000.
So are you like the wise beer vendor to
No.
these young kids?
Oh my God, no. I don't even have like that much seniority, dude. There's this one guy, Ira, who's worked there since like the mid 60s. It's like 1963.
Oh my
God.
God.
Yeah, no, like I would have to work there for 20 more years in order to consistently get the product that I want to sell in the location where I want to sell it.
So you've been there for 20 years and you're not even considered. I mean, are you kind of in that circle? I mean, at 20 years, there must be some recognition for your services, right?
I mean, like after 20 years, some of the old timers finally start talking to you,
right?
But
I wondered, like, yeah, how long until you're noticed by, oh, you've been here, look, I've been here 20 years. I guess I'll tell you my name.
Well, yeah, it was basically like that, now like people that wouldn't fucking give me the time of day when I only had 15 years on my belt, they're now like, see you tomorrow, Justin, or like at the end of the season, they're like, have a good winter,
15. He's only been here 15 years. Don't talk to that kid.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think I've ever done anything for 15 years in a row. Oh man, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's fun as hell. It really is.
Wow. I want to ask one last question, which is at the end of this, because you are an improviser, what advice would you give? One little piece of advice, just one thing. It doesn't have to be the thing, just a thing that you'd give advice to an improviser starting out.
Kat Kenny says that. Kat Kenny says this a lot, and I completely agree with it. It's that you are enough. You are enough. The improv industrial complex, this is me now, is set up to convince you that you aren't enough, that you need sort of levels and levels and levels of classes, and you need to work on particular skills and become the most well-rounded improviser ever and master all sorts of forms. And in trying to become proficient at improv, sometimes people can start to doubt that they have what it takes to succeed at this. And I'm here to tell you that my own philosophy and Kelly's philosophy is you are enough. Trust that you are a human who exists in the world and improvises in it every single day just by virtue of waking up and doing things that you haven't already scripted. Have confidence in your own ability to succeed both on stage and in life, and don't listen to people who try to tear you down and make you feel like you aren't good at this. You can do this. You're fucking enough.
I am going to just cut that piece of audio and I'm just going to set that as my alarm in the morning. Justin Peters, everyone. I have been Anthony Francis. This has been Other Than Improv, and thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
If you're here for improv, go away. This is Other Than Improv with Anthony Francis.